everyone. I hope you're doing brilliant on this sunny morning in the beautiful city of Split. Tell me, are you ready for the first day of EGM? I cannot hear you. I said, are you ready for the first day of EGM? That's better. Excellent. My name is Tajana, and I'm a former Erasmus student and an ESN volunteer. My ESN journey started back in 2014, here in Croatia, when I joined my local ESN section in my hometown, Osijek. Croatia joined the Lifelong Learning Program in 2009, allowing students in Croatia to apply for outgoing Erasmus mobility. In 2011, Croatia became a full member of the program, which means that incoming mobility became available as well. When I joined DSN, there were only 9 incoming Erasmus students at my university, 9. During my time on the local level, I saw the number of incoming students grow 5 times that number, and interest in outgoing mobility exceed the number of places that the university could offer. I was one of the lucky ones to be able to go on Erasmus twice. First time in Milano, Italy, and second time in Poznań, Poland. Over the years, beyond study mobility, there were new mobility types for students and young people to enjoy, such as an opportunity to train or to take a volunteering period abroad. Over the years, universities also got an opportunity to send their staff on mobility and to apply for transnational projects, cooperation projects that allowed them to develop their student-centered services and to build capacity in their staff to work with outgoing and incoming exchange students, both in and outside of the classroom, which impacted, without a doubt, the student experience. When I joined the international board of ESN in 2019, the European University Alliances started to take shape. I watched them grow from the concept in President Macron's speech into real, tangible efforts by universities to offer joint degrees, virtual exchanges, short-term and blended mobility programs. There are now 65 alliances across 35 countries, encompassing more than 570 higher education institutions. In 2024, the European Commission published the blueprint for European degree, a universally recognized qualification resulting from deep transnational collaboration between higher education institutions, with European university alliances serving as sort of laboratories where this new qualification will be tested and built. There are, I think, about over 1.5 million students, staff, and trainees who participated in the Erasmus program in 2024, with over 16 million who benefited from the program since its establishment in 1987. The number of beneficiaries grew alongside the program, but the number of those who benefited is not necessarily reflective of the number of those who are interested in the program. I applied for Erasmus twice, and I was lucky enough to receive an acceptance email twice. But for every email I received, another student found a rejection email in their inbox. This is why new mobility opportunities, such as the European degree that recognizes a period abroad as a central part of the qualification, they are extremely, extremely important. Opportunities provided by the Erasmus program allow students to develop their skills that they wouldn't necessarily be able to develop in a classroom or even if they weren't able to access their period abroad. Erasmus students report a boost in self-confidence, self-reliance, problem-solving, adaptability, flexibility, intercultural communication, and language proficiency. And the Union of Skills initiative that was communicated by the Union in 2025 sees mobility as a skill builder. And the Erasmus program and the new European degree label as sort of key tools that are going to allow students to build this transversal language and intercultural skills in practice. When I was a student, I didn't have a clear career path, but volunteering in ESN and going on Erasmus did change that. Because I have to tell you, Erasmus generation, before I joined ESN, I suffered from almost crippling anxiety. So bad that I couldn't even call a doctor to make an appointment. But like Lena said yesterday, in my whole education and my whole life experience, ESN was one of the first places where I got to actively challenge myself in a supportive and open environment. And I still remember in the early days of being active in ESN, when my local section was looking for someone to present outgoing mobility opportunities to domestic students, to go to one of the faculties to hold a presentation, I remember still the mix of fear and excitement when I put my hand up to do that. So these experiences didn't only equip me with necessary skills, they equipped me with a brazen confidence to ask for things that I was told that maybe I shouldn't ask for. They broadened my horizons and allowed me to see opportunities that were basically around my surroundings, right? And these experiences have changed me as a person, and they have changed me as a staff member that I am today. Because today I'm lucky enough to be able to work at the University College Dublin on the Erasmus program and with the European University Alliances. And looking back now, I was there for a lot of historical moments. Croatia joined the Erasmus program when traineeships were already integrated. So that's the only program I know. I was there when Erasmus got its plus. I remember the call to action in President Macron's speech when he called for the establishment of the European University Alliances. I was there for the ESN review, when it failed and when it succeeded, and when ESN decided to change its whole governance structure. I was there in a room when a group of people was telling that EGM was never going to happen, that ESN volunteers are never going to be interested in that type of an event. And I was there when AGM became EGM. So now I'm here at EGM in my home country, in the city where I attended my first ESN National Assembly. So it kind of feels like a full circle. So I would like to encourage you to pay attention, because your history is happening right now. For many of you, this event is going to be your historical moment. So I encourage you to let the event inspire you. Let yourself be inspired by the city, by the people you meet, by the speakers you hear, by the sessions you attend. Furthermore, I would like to encourage you to let the event empower you. Let it boost your confidence. Be daring and ask for things that the voice at the back of your head is telling you that you cannot have. For many of you, this event is going to be a place where you make decisions. You might decide to run for a national board or international board. You might decide to apply for Erasmus for the first time or maybe just one more time. You might decide to apply for a job at your university or in a European institution. Or you might decide to study something new, somewhere new. And trust me, you will want to remember where you were when you made that decision. So remember that you were in a country where drinking coffee is a 3-hour commitment. Remember the scent of the Adriatic Sea, of grilled fish and fresh seafood. And remember the centuries of history and culture that surround you. And remember the Pomalo mindset. So this is your future memory. So make sure that it is a good one. Your Erasmus love story might not start at this very moment, but this is where it becomes stronger. So tell me, Erasmus generation, are you ready to be empowered? Excellent. So let's get you started on that journey. Our first two speakers are going to introduce you to the world of the European degree. So please welcome Camille Odan from the Director General for the Education, Youth, Sports and Culture, and your President Simone Lepore on the stage.
Good morning, AGM. How are we doing? Did you sleep well? Did you sleep? Are we good? Amazing. So, like Tayana just quickly introduced me, my name is Camille and I work for the European Commission. If you're wondering what the Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture is, it's basically the ministry of all of those things, but at European level. And I'm very, very proud as an ex-ESN nurse to stand in front of you, to share the path that I've made it, and to share a lot more of good information coming from the European Union. And if you think, oh, but my country not really is, well, I'm here also to show you that this is not entirely true. It also concerns you because the Erasmus, and I checked, you can be on a mobility from all of the countries that have a dedication here today in EGM. So for that, please, a round of applause for your participation and covering so many international destinations. All right, so European degree. Just a quick thing as well. I'm very honored to represent the European Commission here today in front of you, but it's also not just me, it's also a huge team of people that work on many, many, many different mobility opportunities, that the end user of what we work on a daily basis is really the students, the academic staff, the professors, and all of the support that are getting through to you. It took me many years to understand that me going through my bachelor and my master and then my 3 Erasmus mobilities did not just fall from the sky. It was actually a lot of work, a lot of preparation from people that were working on it, but also volunteers to make sure that those experiences would happen. Of course, we all know what Erasmus Plus is, the traditional mobility, since 1987. They have much evolved and there are very other new type of mobility that you can do nowadays. You have blended intensive programs, you have hybrid learning, you have shorter mobility periods, and you have, of course, full degrees. That is because we understood very early on that it was important to have the mobilities as streamlined and as recognized as possible. That's what Simone talked to you about yesterday. But first, I've been saying European degrees many, many, many times, but I want to engage a little bit more with you on what you think that can be.
Yes, we actually decided to do a test for you. So we will showcase some questions. And if you think that they're right, I would ask you to stand up. If you think they're false, I ask you to stay seated. And of course, this is not a real test, but is to understand a bit where we stand, to showcase also to the Commission what students perceive, because as we mentioned yesterday, the Erasmus Generation meeting is also about connection with institutions, and we will see throughout this presentation, the European degree as every action of the Erasmus Plus program are about learners. So, Camille mentioned a few times European degree, but what is in reality? Let's go to the first question. Do you think that the European degree is just for a specific study field? If you think is right, please stand up. Okay. Any first reaction, Camille?
Amazing. Are you all listening? Can I hear a cheer to see that you're so far away from me? Lovely.
Of course, we are not going to give you the answer right now. We'll give at the end of the presentation. Then, next question. Will students receive funding for the full mobility experience? If you think yes, please stand up. Okay. We are really positive about funding. Please, Camille, make sure we'll have enough money.
I'm taking notes, I'm taking notes.
Then, do you think that internship will be included in an European degree?
Oh, you got up faster this time, incredible.
I think they're having fun. Let's go for the last question. Do you think that this will require for students to spend more time abroad? Okay, here I see that we have a more divided opinion. But now, before we actually give the answer to this question, we are going to explore a bit more what actually is the European degree, because it's a really nice name, but what does it mean in practice?
All right, so basically, a European degree is a joint program. And what is a joint program? It is the furthest cooperation you can find between different universities in different countries that they offer one program. One bachelor, one master, one PhD, which has mobilities included in it. I have gathered for you some example behind, but I also want to really showcase in this that on top of just being gathered mobilities together, they also have the European values, the priorities that we know are very important not to neglect when we think about the future that education shall have, such as the digitalization issues, such as the environmental issues. All of that is also part of the thinking that all of those people that I mentioned before that are working tirelessly to make your education path happen, on top of you being the receiver and actually going to take the exams and the classes, actually went through these and says, okay, what is important that those incredible educational units are providing? And just very quickly for you, because also we're in splits, I took experience to find joint programs that already exist around Europe. There are not that many, and that's why we're working very hard on it to make it more accessible and more welcoming for you. But very quickly in here, in CEO, in Split, you have some bachelors, some masters, and a second master that really have this idea of you're studying one topic, but from the best of the best across the European continent, with the best teachers and the best resourcing and moving abroad. Typically, it looks like you start at your university, and then you do one semester abroad at a B university, and then at the C one, and then you receive one common diploma that is received and recognized by the educational sector. And that is also another example. I took the UFE alliances. I don't know if you know your university was in there, but it's the University of Rijeka in here in Croatia that is part of this alliance. And that provides such a path for you to do with different semesters, with different minors, always focusing on very deep and technical masters or bachelors that are very much aligned with the employment needs, because also we know that in the end you would like to have a quality job and a quality workplace in the later point, which is also based off all of the picture. I showed you earlier this picture with all of my colleagues that we had back there in Brussels, but it's not the only thing, you know, it's a piece that we're working on higher education to make it better. But it's also part of this union of skills, of this European politics that we want to improve the quality of the people. And that comes with changing the skills for this labor market that keeps on evolving. I know it might sound a bit weird because we are all youngsters in here and you don't really feel it. But I also see we have a bunch of externals here that have been in the field for longer time than I have and are capable of witnessing that it's harder, less affordable, and more complexity and more hurdles that we get. And I also want to emphasize that this is not only for the people that live in Brussels to have it. It needs to reach every corner of Europe, every small rural or more exposed areas, even if it's hard for me to reach it by train because I never take the plane, I don't like it. And finally, a stronger global position, because it is indeed the case that competitiveness for the European Union comes with the relation with the other continents. All right, and now the most important point, which is how ESN collaborates to the creation of those European degrees.
First of all, I would ask to raise your hand if you are currently enrolled or if you are an alumni of a joint or a double degree.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
I was myself. I did my double degree between Italy and France. And I was a volunteer of ESN both in Italy and France, and it was really amazing. But actually, I had a few challenges. One of the main challenges was that I had to do more exams than all my colleagues. Because unfortunately, at the time, to get a degree, you needed to have a specific amount of credit done in each country. So I didn't do 180 CTS. I had to do more. I had to spend more time, and this was a challenge, especially because I was a passionate ESNer. I wanted to attend all events. I wanted to contribute in 2 countries, because this was also the result of me being a student in a double degree. But why the voice of students matter? It matters because the learners are the ones who are experiencing these challenges firsthand. It is important because we are the one who will have challenges in getting their credit recognized. Us and our families are the one who will have to pay to get the diplomas recognized among countries, because unfortunately it's not even always free. And most and foremost, because as students we don't want to be passive receiver of our education, but we want to be active in shaping it for us. And this is what ESN is about. But let's go in practice. I gave my motivational speech yesterday. Today I want to showcase what ESN does, what I also do in my daily work. So actually, last year, Rita, that was already envisioning the involvement of ESN in the European degree, included for the first time informations on the European degree, asking mobile, non-mobile, and graduate students if they would like to enroll in this type of program. And of course, as you may expect it, most of the respondents, more than 60%, said that they would like to participate in a European degree. And also, do you know what the ESN survey is? We are launching actually this summer, the 16th edition, so get ready. I want to see every of your Instagram pages. I want to see all of you engaging in this dissemination, because we like to do everything big. We like to organize the biggest student-led conference. We like to be the biggest student-led organization, and we like to have the biggest student-led survey. But we go even further. Sorry, yes, let's give a grand round of applause to this. But then we also engage with politicians. Actually, in November, I had the chance to participate to a public hearing at the European Parliament in the CALT Committee. What is the CALT Committee? It's a group of students. Oh, I'm really late with the time. Sorry, I have to speed up. You know, I like to speak. The CALT Committee is the group of members of the European Parliament who works in the Parliament in education related, in topics related to education, cultures and youth, and we presented the students' perspective on the degree. We presented the added value, what students want to see in the implementation. But also, we participated to the European Degree Forum. Our liaison, our education and youth policy officer, Dominika, she's here. She's from Poland. I give a round of applause to Poland as well, to give us such amazing liaison officer. We went to the European degree. We met with national agencies. We met with ministries of higher education. We met with the European Commission to understand which is the current status. We went to countries to present, to speak with higher education institutions, to make sure that they are going to apply for these opportunities, to make sure that the project they are going to present reflect what students want. But what does it mean in practice for our network, the implementation of an European degree? It means that students will have different type of opportunities. They will be fragmented. In simple words, our objective, our dream is I am an European student, I will do 6 months in a country, I will do one course in another country, I will do my internship in another country, and this will be all part of the same program. This will be all recognized under the same degree. Plus, we'll have more fragmented student journey. People will travel way more, hopefully. They will have so many different type of opportunities, virtual, physical, trainership, short, long, but especially they will need greater support. We said it yesterday, the core value of the Erasmus Plus program is to connect people. It was born as a program to create an European identity, to create a worldwide identity for students. And we need to make sure that in these opportunities, in the work that we do as local section every day, we make this happen, whether it's short, whether it's long. And actually, finishing on time, I'm really surprised. Before when I saw the timer, I thought I would not make it. We must make sure that these mobilities are not just to be, sorry, I'm really confused. We won't just have more learners, but we actually have learners that will do different type of opportunities, and we have to understand and we have to work together in supporting them. Because the speed, whether they go on Erasmus, they go on trainership, the speed they do any type of mobility, we must make sure that they are supported, that they have contact with their local community. Yes. Another applause. We like to applaud today.
He said it all. He said everything. A round of applause for your amazing president, Simone Lepore.
And before I conclude, this is a really call to action. We want to make sure that EGM doesn't remain just about talks. So we invite you, from September, students will be able to enroll to the European degree. They will be able for the first time to participate to this kind of opportunity. And it is your job as ambassador, is our job as ambassador of the Erasmus Plus program to disseminate this information, to make sure that everyone knows, to make sure that you are also going to apply, because these are opportunities that will shape the way in which we perceive education. And of course, make sure to reach out to us, make sure to speak with your national presidents, make sure to send me thousands of emails asking questions about this. Let's discuss together how we can make these opportunities possible, how we can better support them, and especially make sure to use these days also to speak with the Commission, to understand which are their visions, what they want to shape, how they want to shape the program, which is their perspective. So if you see Camille, if you see a former ESNer which is really engaged, which still come to ESN events and still make sure that we are updated on all European initiatives, reach out to her, attack her, not literally please. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, Camille, for being here and to showcase that even after your ESN and Erasmus journey, there is still a place for you in this network.
Always. Thank you very much for having me.
I would like you to take a minute to imagine something that every Erasmus student knows. You arrive to a new city, to a new country, you're surrounded by people you've never met before, and you're studying, working, or volunteering in a language that is not your own. And then in a matter of days or week, something changes. Something's different. you adapt, you connect, you grow. And that is the quiet power of Erasmus. So it's not just about the lectures you take, the traineeship or volunteering activities you undertake, or the credits that you earn. It is also about the person that you become in the process. Language skills, intercultural skills, the ability to adapt, to collaborate, to connect, to think critically, these skills are not just a coincidence. They're kind of the entire point. But then there's also the uncomfortable truth that the skills that Erasmus students gain are not always visible on paper. So navigating bureaucracy in a foreign language or leading a multicultural student project are usually experiences that are lived, but not always recognized. And this is why the union of skills matters. It is there to ensure that the skills that our students get when they return home are seen, understood, and accounted for. We have one of the most transformative educational programs in the history, I would say. And we must ensure that the skills that students gain are not lost in translation. With that, it is my great pleasure to invite Brikena Jomaji, the director of the Lifelong Learning Platform, on stage to introduce the next panel discussion.
Works. Okay, good morning to everyone. It's amazing to see you all, although I don't see you exactly because it's a bit dark here. However, I'm really glad to be back to ESN, because indeed I'm also an alumni. I started with ESN Nice and France, and then ESN International. So I'm really glad to be here moderating this session with a different hat, because since then I moved on, of course, from ESN, and I've been working for the Lifelong Learning Platform for the last 10 years, and I will explain what the platform stands for, but I will do that in a panel with a few other colleagues that will enlighten us about quality internships. What does it mean? How does it fit in the mobility experience? How can we bring that EU ambition, Union of Skills, to reality through internships and the competences that we acquire through that experience? So I would like my colleagues, Olga, Nanette, and Nathan, to join me in the stage, please. A round of applause for them as well. Okay, so take your time to serve some water. Do we have to sit in the water? Just to make sure they have water. Okay, so here we are. What we are here for? So I want you to tell us who you are, because everybody is wondering indeed who you are. What is your organization interest and work in the field? And how excited you are to be at the AGM. So maybe we start with you, Nanette. You have a microphone there.
Okay, my name is Nanette Ritmeester. I'm a Dutch national, so I hope the Dutch will cheer me on. I don't know if I can say that aloud, but I've never been on an ESN exchange. But I have a very good reason why I'm not have been on an ESN exchange or an Erasmus Plus exchange. Very simple reason. I am that old. It existed, I have to admit, but I started a company that is probably older than most people here in this room. So that sort of gives me a little bit a head start and an excuse here. And the company that I lead is called Expertise in Labor Mobility. Well, the name already says it. It's about labor mobility, so that's why I'm here. I worked for the European Commission for a while, 6 years, in the EURES network, and that was very much focused on the policy requirements to ensure that mobility. But then I started to sort of, don't worry, I'm not going to tell my entire story. No,
and then maybe how many of you know EURES?
Do you know EURES?
Only the experts here in front. Okay, I mean, it's
a
interesting.
vacancy
Yeah.
exchange system set up by the European Commission to allow vacancy exchange between the various member states. But it was very focused on the policy side of everything. And I've never been good at listening to what people said. So even at the European Commission, I asked my boss if I could make a sidestep and talk to employers. He said, yes, go ahead, do it. And all the employers I spoke to, I organized 2 major breakfast meetings in Brussels. They said, we're not interested into any program that's for free. We want to pay for it. The Commission was not interested. But that rose the interest with me because the employers had no clue what true mobility meant. And here I am 30 years later, still working in the area of labor mobility and understanding the skills that you have gained and how to translate them to something an employer recognizes.
Thank you, Nanette. Olga?
Thank you very much, Nanette.
An applause for Nanette.
My name is Olga O'Sullivan, and I'm from the University of Limerick in Ireland.
Big team.
Thank you. So my role at the university is a cooperative education manager. So I work with students who want to go outside of Ireland for their placement or traineeship, as we call it here. So a lot of my time is spent in preparing students and helping students navigate their journey from being a student into the world of work. So I'm very excited to be here. It is my first EGM. I'm also participating in a project and working with some of my colleagues called DATAS, and that is very much focusing on improving the quality of traineeships for students. So I'm very grateful to be here, so thank you very much.
Hello, Erasmus generation, how are you? So, my name is Nathan. I'm originally from France. And now working in the international level of ESN as a liaison officer for youth affairs, which means I do 2 things. I represent the interest of the network towards youth stakeholders in Europe, but I also do policy work towards a lot of topics, youth rights, youth participation, and one of them is about young people, the need for young people to have the right of quality internship and a quality work. I'm also involved in the Council of Europe through ESN, and the reason I'm here also it's because I'm also an alumnus of Erasmus. I did an internship abroad in Freiburg, Germany in 2020, so I will be able also maybe to share a bit my experience about it.
Thank you very much to both of you. I'm glad to have you to discuss this. Does it work? No, it's not working. Okay, I can have yours. It worked. Okay, thank you. Technical problems are normal. So thank you very much to the 3 of you. I'm glad to have you here to discuss this topic, quality internships. What does it mean? And especially when you add to it mobility dimension, then what is that the added value on top? So you heard, all of you heard Union of Skills. I know that to many it doesn't mean much because you probably don't understand what is behind it. It's such a complex political commitment that it's in fact a long Christmas wishing lists of a lot of initiatives that the Union is working on in order to really bring all Europeans to a new level of learning and experiencing Europe, working in Europe, living in Europe. And I think one of these initiatives in particular is the skills portability and the digital skills wallets that links very well with the traineeship discussion that we want to have. And I'm really curious to see and to discuss with you how can we make Erasmus placements, Erasmus internships, a high quality experience that is this, you know, it creates this European identity, European professional identity, a European skills wallet. So what does it mean for you, quality internships, from your perspective?
I think it's very difficult actually. It can be very challenging, particularly for students, because they undertake this experience, and we at our university, we spend some time hearing about student experiences. And sometimes they find it very difficult to translate what they've done into what we would see as skills. And I think even from the employer's perspective, it can be very difficult because there's a lot of buzzwords out there, global competencies, but what does that mean? And I'm not sure, that people really understand it. And I think universities have a role to play in both the student journey, but also maybe, informing employers so that they know what it is that they should expect from students. And I think, sometimes in talking to students, their experience, their difficulties, their challenges, it can be something really simple, setting up a bank account, very, very simple things that we all take for granted. But when you do it on a global scale, maybe you're dealing with, it's not your first language, you don't understand the culture. It can be very, very difficult. So I think helping students to reflect on their experience when they come back is very important. And some universities will have a mechanism for that, others don't. And that can be down to resources or many, many reasons. But I think it should be encouraged because it's from the reflecting on it that you learn to realize the skills that you've gained. So you've worked on a team with people from lots of different countries. Well, that's global competency. That's your intercultural skills. But people don't always recognize that. And I think sometimes when students are doing their, writing up their CVs, they forget about all of the little experiences that really, help shape what they can offer to employers. And I think as well, career services probably have a place to play as well, just in terms of bridging that gap in helping students to recognize the skills and help them to communicate that with employers when it comes to looking for potential graduate roles, etc.
Thank you, Olga. Who wants to go next and define quality internships from your perspective?
I think one of the, you said something very important, Olga, the fact that you have to make sure that you translate those skills. In my role, I see really a lot of CVs, and sometimes people simply forget to mention it, or they just say, I went on an Erasmus exchange, as if it might mean a lot to you, but for people outside of this room, they've got no idea what that means. And they have for sure no idea what were the skills you gained. So unless you're able to really, really translate it into words an employer understands, because you used words that employers understand. But I see a lot of people that go like, I went abroad, it was really nice, I learned languages, I worked with people in an international team. But one of the skills, of course it's about adaptability, but come up with an example that proves your adaptability. If you have used your teamwork skills in an international environment, come up with an example. And one skill that people often forget is self-efficacy, the ability to reflect on yourself and understand what are your strong points, but also where are your development points? What are the things that you may be not that strong on? And for instance, Tatjana's story was a great one. I wasn't really good at this, but I've learned to develop that. That will blow away an employer if you're able to give that example in a really well lived through experience and being authentic about it. It's a horrible word to use, but it's an important word in this sense.
I would agree with you. The only problem that probably many of you would agree is that it's very difficult for a student to actually be aware of what are, or translate those skills into the wording that the labor market is looking at. So I think there, how can we help them? What is a quality internship from a student perspective to also help them translate those skills to the labor market?
No, I think I completely agree with the translating skills aspects. I think also if we talk about the quality internship, we need to go back from the start of the process also. So, and talk about structure. I think in a lot of curriculum today, internships, they are secondary, and even more international internships, they are secondary and they are not part of the learning experience. They are just an add-on opportunity that you can have, and this is not helping also the translating of skills after the mobility. And if I take my student perspective, maybe, I think there is a few differences between a good and a weaker internship experience. So basically, in a good experience, you understand before you go what is your role, what is the added value that you have in the organization you will go. You need to be guided in the process before, during, and after the mobility. And you need to reflect also on what you learn and what you live during your mobility. And I think that should also happen not only after with the skills translation, but also during the mobility, because this is the start. And today, I think both realities exist, the good and the weaker one. And basically, define quality internship is defining standards, defining a basis for all traineeships to be considered as a true learning experience.
Thank you. I will pick up on what Olga said about recognition. And I mean, the Erasmus placement internships, sometimes they are part of the studies, sometimes they are not. But what is sure is that they're not always part of the learning agreement, especially some of the skills that we acquire during those experiences. And in particular, you all referring to transversal skills, because one thing is to learn about the actual job, so learning the practical, technical skills of that particular profession. But there is a lot more to it, and a lot of other transversal key competences that we acquire, that you mentioned, Nanette, that are not captured in the learning agreement. They are not captured in your qualification. They are not, and that's where I come with the comment I made just before, like how do we help the student to translate those, and how does the university help in that regard to capture those skills and translate them into the learning agreement or into actual qualification? Where do they fit? So what is the role? You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but maybe you can go a little bit more in depth. What could be the role of the universities here?
Sure. So I suppose as well we're talking about quality internships, and I suppose that is part of what the DATAS project, for example, is trying to accelerate. So we're trying to give the key skills to all stakeholders, and I think that's very important. Because again, there's the employer side, there's the student side, and indeed the university side. So I think that's a very important part for universities in particular to engage with all stakeholders. But I also think we're talking about quality internships or placements, but every placement has a quality element to it for a student. So even if it isn't exactly what they expected, there's learning from that as well. You know, things don't always work out. I remember we had a student who was studying applied languages. She really thought that she wanted to be a teacher, so she was placed in a teaching opportunity. She was about 2 weeks in, and she thought, oh my God, I do not have the patience to deal with children. This is really not for me. But it's what she wanted. And she got to understand, because of the opportunity, that actually this wasn't going to be the pathway. It wasn't a bad, it wasn't a bad placement. There was nothing wrong with it. It was, it was a quality placement. But the learning that she got from it was, maybe different to what she had originally anticipated. And I think maybe that's the big thing is for, students may not always recognize or maybe think to reflect on their learnings. But if we don't encourage students to notice what they're doing along the way, that's how they're going to translate what they're doing into the skills down the road. Because there is maybe a little, as I said earlier, a disconnect between what a student is experiencing and them translating that into an actual skill. And maybe that is something that we can help more for students just to learn, I suppose, to translate all of those experiences into an actual skill down the road.
It's working, yeah. So as we are talking about students' experience, how many of you have been on internships? Quite some. How many of you would like to be or have an internship? Okay, quite good. And from those that already did an internship, how many of you were happy with the internship? I see less hands. Something happened. Well, indeed, I mean, we all went through it. Most of us had 1 or 2 or 3 internship experience. And indeed, I mean, quality is a big question, but also with access and inclusiveness, so that everybody has that opportunity, is also quite a big question. And for many students, finding an internship abroad in particular is even more difficult, because you have to know the labor market in the other country, you have to have connections, you need help to find the right place to go and trust that place. So that is also an additional barrier, especially for internships abroad. So I think we need to also look at how we can support, and I mean, Simone mentioned it several times, how we can support them at local level in that regard. So what would be your take on that? Like when we come to this international dimension, mobility dimension of internships, what is the best help that each students' organizations, universities, and in this case, labor market can do to support?
I'll start. So I think one of the big things for students is it's a big decision to make. So in our university, all undergraduate students actually undertake some form of a placement. It's quite a large program. We deal with about 3,000 students every year, but only about 250 of those would want to do something different, want to go outside of Ireland. And I think sometimes it's encouraging students to take that leap. You know, there are many, many barriers as to why one wouldn't do it. You know, there's the financial, there's the, you know, the risk. We know that the world is a very different place. You know, it can change very quickly. We know that from COVID, from geopolitical things. So the safe option might be to stay in your home country. But the experience that you'll get in undertaking an internship abroad is, we would say, very much life-changing. One of the things we do as well at our university is we have students explain in a very short presentation about their experience when they come back. And the confidence that we see that students have, you know, explaining, and it's so lovely for us to see, but they're actually encouraging the next cohort to go for it. You know, some students just want to go because they want the opportunity of seeing the world, and that's as good a motivation as any. But all of the skills that you will develop, so much more than if you stayed at home, the adaptability, all of the things that will be a real game changer when it comes to doing interviews. Everyone probably has the similar, you know, academic standing coming out with a degree, but it's those experiences that you can bring to the table that will be just so very different.
Student organizations, what do they do to help students find quality internships abroad? ESN in particular does a lot, so.
I think as in every mobility experience, what we do well is the peer-to-peer sharing, because as a network, we are also one of the biggest network of alumni that did before experiences, and indeed sometimes internship experiences. So I think through different projects that we have, going to fairs, doing maybe Erasmus in schools, I don't know, going there and present the fact that it's possible also to do an Erasmus mobility as an intern. I think student organization can do that a lot. But I think one of the main issues that there is, and where we can work on also alongside other partners, is information, basically. Because today, Erasmus is known as the Erasmus plus studies program and so on, but not enough people, and not enough people even inside universities, know that it's possible to do an internship abroad. If I take my own experience, for example, when I went to Germany, I only knew that it was possible to do an internship abroad because I was already in ESN and because I was already knowing the Erasmus program. So what I did is basically search alone, do hundreds of candidacies in cultural centers all over Europe. But I did that on my own. This was not something that was coming from a structure that was working perfectly. It was my personal will and my personal effort that allowed me to go on Erasmus. And I think some people can do this effort, but in order for the program to be even more inclusive and touch people that don't have access to Erasmus mobility and to internship mobility, I think this information gap should be bridged.
It's important indeed. We will, just after the panel, have the presentation of the beta version of the Erasmus Career. How many of you know the Erasmus Career? Okay, maybe after the session you will know more, but indeed it's the platform that is supposed to help in that regard, information, access to information. And I want to ask you, what is indeed, how do you see this as an added value of what is the link that it, and the support that it gives to make information accessible about traineeships abroad, quality traineeships abroad? So what will be the wish you have to towards this new version of the Erasmus Career?
Should I start? So yeah, for me there is two gaps to be bridged, as I said. The first one is the access to information, because it depends on the country, on the university, sometimes even the field of study that you have. It's I think it's sometimes more easy to go on a mobility and go on an internship within a specific field of study rather than others. And also there is this gap between, I mean, some of the people in the university are not aware, as I said, about internship experience. So maybe, I don't know how Erasmus Careers could do that, but maybe try to inform better also the staff members on these experiences. And the second one, I want to jump on what you said at the beginning, is the lack of continuity between the internship experience and the professional world. I think a lot of the time, so you go abroad, you develop skills, you learn things, but it only is a standalone experience. And the connection between this mobility world and the professional world is sometimes not perfect. And in ESN, historically, we have been good to work on all the phases of mobility, so before, during, after. And I think maybe within the Erasmus Careers, the role it could play is trying to addressing also these gaps. Because if we don't address these gaps, in my opinion, the new platform will benefit to people that already know the program, and the inclusive goal of the Erasmus Plus program will not be reached.
Thank you. So mindful of the timing as well, quickly from Nanette and Olga.
Well, like Olga already said, the DITAS project, we're also involved in the DITAS project and have looked very much at what employers want, because you think that you might need help in making a success of that internship, but so do the employers, because for an employer it's also scary to hire somebody from another country. They don't speak your language, they might eat differently from what you're used to as an employer. So also for the employer, there's cultural adaptation required. So for the DITAS project, we created an employer toolkit to help employers understand the value of an international internship. And I think what I hope to see in the Erasmus Careers portal is a clear link where all the partners are really well catered for, not just the student, because if you only cater to the student community, you might miss that link to the job market and to what you do everything for. And I saw some hands going up for people who are doing an internship. Next time that we're here, I want to see all the hands go up, because as an employer, an internship is way stronger than just going on an Erasmus exchange, because that internship will have learned you in a very short time, like an accelerator, so many important skills.
Thank you. I am really looking forward to the platform being unveiled. I think it's going to be a great tool, I think, for, I suppose, to give students the confidence to have somewhere to go to start their journey. We know from our research that some of, I suppose, some universities, it can be very light touch and it can be very scary for students. So to give students a place to go where they know they will get quality information. And also, I suppose, as well, just to have, as Nanette said, quality, control, if you like, from the employer's perspective as well. So they know what they're getting into. They're more prepared in how they should deal with students. So everyone can kind of meet students where they're at in their journey.
Thank you very much to all of you. I'm also very much looking forward to this beta version of the Erasmus career. I still remember Erasmus interns. It was the first project that we had in ESN when I was back the director of the ESN International, and I was so excited that we could build such a platform, and I'm even more happy today that it's continued and that we are developing it further. So I think it's a great job that ESN is doing, but I think we also have to acknowledge the amount of platforms and tools that other European institutions are providing, how they are linking also to the Erasmus career. For instance, I don't know how many of you know the Europass CV. Europass is also an amazing platform that Europe has been developing that helps you build your CV, but also find a training and a learning opportunity abroad, and also jobs. Because now, as you said, Nanette, you reminded me of EURES. EURES, maybe it was long ago what you explained, but nowadays it's a mobility, so working mobility platform, so you can find jobs in another European country, and now is integrated in the Europass platform. So I really would encourage all of you to look at the Europass platform. It's amazing. You can have digital credentials in there as well. So it's progressing a lot. So there are so many other tools that indeed can help individuals navigate the complexity of the labor market and the complexity of learning journeys and mobility in Europe. But at least we know that solutions are there, and for as long students' organizations like EXN exist, they can be an amazing bridge to these maybe faraway tools and the actual students' needs. And of course, universities play a key role, and then the labor market actors. So I was really happy to share this panel with you, coming also from my perspective as the Lifelong Learning Platform director. I've been working indeed on the topic of internships and quality experiences abroad, among many different others. And I just want to say that learning is a lifelong journey. Erasmus experience is just one among many others that you can still do thanks to Erasmus Plus, because the plus stands for something. Because Nanette said that she couldn't go on mobility, but she can still go. And she can still use Erasmus Plus to go on mobility. And that's a great achievement, because thanks to the students' mobility, we managed to show that we can build a stronger Europe through mobility, through students' experience, and we wanted more of it. We wanted even for everyone, every age, every person in Europe to experience that, either through a study or work experience. So let's do our best to achieve that union of skills ambition. And thank you very much for having us here in this panel. And I leave the floor to the next session, I guess. Diana, you will take over from here. Thank you very much to everyone. It was great to see you.
So we heard. Okay, so we heard a lot about the transformative power of Erasmus traineeships. And Brikenna did ask you how many of you went on traineeship. But how many of you used Erasmus intern to try to search for your traineeship? Let's see by the raise of hands. Okay, decent amount. And how many of you found your internship using the Erasmus intern platform? Not that many, okay. And how many of you recommended Erasmus intern to another student? Okay, now the number is a bit better. Well, that's excellent, but now to see what comes next, I would like to invite Rui Vinha and Marco Comotti, your treasurer and WPA, to the stage to tell us what's next.
Yeah, it's working. I can speak, you cannot.
No, it's my time. You take this. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Come on, ESN. Come on. You can do better. Let's go. Good morning, ESN. Yes. Let's go. So, thank you very much for being here, for waking up early today. We are the last ones, but of course we saved the best for last. So we will be very, very out soon. So yes, my name is Rui. We have Marco, and we are going to be talking about something that we were already talking in the panel before. Of course, the theme of this year's event is about skills, and of course, traineeships are one of the best opportunities that you can have to develop your skills. Where is the mic?
Yes.
You are doing this for me. Okay, you can do. So yes. As it was mentioned in the panel before, let's take a bit of a step back. Let's talk about how traineeships can also influence the journey of the students. Of course, there are many of skills that you can develop. The first part is that you can actually, for the students, you can actually turn the theory into practice. So you go to the real world, you see how what you've learned makes or not or doesn't make sense in the labor market. Of course, it boosts all of the soft skills that you can gain, adaptability, the confidence, but also the hard skills that you can gain through the traineeship in general. And also, these international placements, they bring a bit more international experience also to the students, but also to the workplace, which is also very important. But actually, what the students want, or what do they think about when they go to their traineeships? So there are some external factors, of course, as this affects all the mobility, the affordability of the city. Of course, now this is a very unfortunate topic, but they mainly think about three things. The first one being the reputation of the host company. Of course, how can they use and how can they learn from good or high reputation companies, but also the improvement in their career aspirations. How can they use this internship actually to grow and to develop their skills? And also one that we might not really maybe think when we think about traineeships under the Erasmus Plus is also the engagement with local communities. So in our edition of the ESN survey, students actually told us that they also want to engage with the community through traineeships, which we normally associate more with the studies mobility. But also, of course, the benefits don't end in the student side. As we were mentioning in the panel before, also companies benefit from having international traineeships and trainees in their workplace. Of course, it builds a strong environment, it brings this international culture, but also it's easier for companies maybe to recruit people. They can start with the internship programs, they can grow inside the company, you can find very new talent, but then of course it brings fresh ideas, international experience, but also can develop even, for instance, mentoring to the staff members that you have in your companies. You can also develop skills on how people can mentor trainees and help them grow as well. So this is actually not very new, at least for ESN International. As Brikena mentioned, back in 2014, there was a project that ESN applied called Story. I have to say that it was a beautiful story because we are here 12 years later still talking about this. And that project at the time was basically to create a platform called Erasmus Intern. So ESN realized that for students to find traineeships abroad, was very complicated. There was no platform that could display all of this information. And of course, Erasmus Inter was born. It's been 12 years, and we managed to make a platform that it is, till the day, the only platform that is referred in the European Commission website if you look under traineeships. So we are the only platform that is there, and they recommend us. But of course, in the first 10 years of the platform, what has happened? As you can see here, we had more than 180,000 students from more than 200 countries or territories registered, 111,000 traineeships postings from more than 10,000 companies in 127 different countries. So these are the numbers of the impact of Erasmus Inter in the first 10 years. This is what has been happening. And of course, ESN has been there, especially you in the local sections, supporting them, of course, with the ESN cards, with the events, with their integration. We can still build more. We, of course, can always improve. And this is why, reflecting a bit of what has happened in Erasmus intern in the past. Now we have to look at the future. And Marco, what we have for the future of Erasmus intern, please.
Thank you, Rui. Thank you for the introduction. So, I mean, yeah, we know we have Erasmus intern, but at the same time we had started to work also on another project that was Erasmus Careers, that was basically trying also to connect, this bridge, make this bridge between the employers market and Erasmus Plus, so to get it more recognized. So at the moment we have two different platforms, but yeah, we have to go further. What we're gonna do is merge them and unveil them to you for the first time since the project started. So why do we know it? Why do we need it? The why is always the driving factor, why do we need a new platform? Why are we changing this so much in such a way that we can achieve a greater good, like giving more support or whatever? And we're gonna show it to you now. So the first thing is that needs the students and companies have evolved over time. Like we started in 2014 with Erasmus Intern and Erasmus Careers followed up, but we're not in 2014 anymore, so needs have changed. We're now looking for not only providing internships, but also providing quality internships. Like this is also something that is happening throughout the mobility world. Like we're not only trying to give mobility, we want to give a better mobility, more quality mobility. The second one is that still there is an interest in internships and traineeships. And just a data here, 59.06% of non-mobile students are referring that they want to participate in an internship, and internship programs are still a strong drive. And then, of course, our role is also to support and improve the traineeship support. So we developed it throughout the platform in such a way that you will be having a bit more of support when it comes to go on mobility for an internship. But this is also support for the companies as well. One of the things is, when you're asked if you want to have more information about something, you can see these are data from the ESN survey. Yes, we have information about financial support and so on, but we also have that one of the key elements that students are facing, one of the key barriers that they are facing is that they cannot find an internship placement. And they also want to understand what is the career prospect that they have after the mobility. And then finally, we said, okay, but I mean, it's not simply a merge, because merging a platform and updating it, yeah, I mean, it's also in our strategy to merge our platform, have less, but why are we doing it? It's because we're basically providing the same service to two groups of people, and the first group of people that are Erasmus Plus interns are basically people that want to go on mobility. But then we have another group of people that are looking for job careers, so job abroad, because it's been conducted, some studies that were conducted show that it's more likely that a person that goes on an Erasmus Plus mobility for internship, then, or in general an Erasmus Plus mobility, then will end up looking for a job abroad, so becoming a mobile worker. And so having a single platform allow us to have a single entry point for both people that want to go on an Erasmus Plus mobility, but also employers that want to provide both jobs or internships to these people, allowing also like this kind of a change on the employer's side. And then, yeah, of course, I told you why, but how did we achieve it? How did we do it? So the first thing is we improved the user experience. Of course, this is needed it's 2026 now, so basically we needed to improve the experience as well, but also to build trust in the platform, we wanted to give more information and clearer information so that we can actually display if this is a quality internship or not. Of course, one of the main drawbacks that the old platform had was that the communication was not in the platform itself. And this led to some issues, especially for users that were applying, maybe sharing personal data, and we don't want it. You know how much I speak about GDPR, so yeah. So to reduce the information that is shared outside the platform and to give a better support to students, we introduced this so that, you know, we can also support in case they share something they should not. And then the most important part, I would say, it's the quality internship. We developed two features that are really important, especially to understand how the mobility that we're gonna have as an intern is a quality one or not. The first one is a quality labeling system. So basically, during your journey, you will be fed with not many and not too long questionnaires where you will be able to say how your mobility is going. And this is going to be matched to an employer one that is basically the same. And if the information are matching, then you can be awarded a quality label as an employer to show what are you doing good and what are you doing not so good, so that we can also promote this kind of a virtuous circle, virtuous approach, and then employers will be more engaged and more pushed to provide better quality internships. And then the continuous journey support, which is basically what I was mentioning before, this service that are going to be sent to you to understand also if the offer actually reflects what was written, or like if you were doing stuff that was not supposed to be happening and things like that. So to provide still a better support to you and to your international students that are coming to ask you, okay, but I want to do an internship after, because I want to stay so much in, I don't know, Italy, France, Netherlands, Estonia, Turkey. Okay, I could go on with all 44 countries, but I mean, time is limited. And so, what is next? What is the next step in this future, in the journey that attends us? Well, of course, today we're unveiling the beta version, so you will be able to test it out. But we will do a release of the official platform in September, so stay tuned. And yeah, just go.
Yes.
A bit of
Not
excitement.
working.
So I would ask you to come to the SN International stand, to the HQ stand, to test the platform. We're going to be there to show it to you, and you will be able to choose either if you want to build your own company and your quality internships, or if you want to just try and look it out, look for a quality internship. But for the time being, after that, if you want to get access to the platform, if you want to be informed about everything that is going to come next, just scan the QR code and register to the newsletter so that you will be able to have all the information first. And yeah, that's it.
Yes. Don't forget, come to our stand, Expo, yes, International, erasmuscareer.org, September. Let's make history together. Thank you.
Your platform sound to you? Come on, that doesn't sound very promising. That's better. That is better. To me, it sounds amazing. When I was in the international board, we had Erasmus Skills. Now we are already at Erasmus Careers. So it is great to see that ESN is continuously improving and meeting the needs of students as the new needs continue to emerge. We heard already quite a lot today about the skills that Erasmus students develop and how we enable them to develop those skills. Every person in this room was changed by Erasmus. Perhaps it was a study mobility, a traineeship, joining a local ESN section, and experiencing internationalization at home, working closely with the Erasmus program without having been an Erasmus student yourself, or maybe it was simply sitting in a room like this, full of people who are trying to reach for something that is bigger than themselves. Whatever got you here, you did not come empty-handed. You came here with skills, with perspectives, with stories that no curriculum could have given to you. Do not keep them to yourselves. Throughout the next 3 days, use them in the sessions you attend and with the people you speak to. Use them to inspire those around you and take the stories that speak to you to empower you. Embrace what you have heard today and what you will hear throughout the next 3 days that we are going to be here, and bring them back to your universities, to your communities, and to your local sections. Erasmus gave us a generation, but what you do with it is really up to you. And that time starts now. Hvala na pozornosti and enjoy the rest of the day.